morning.
And look, all different legs, but all the faces, America.
Poignant. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton barnstorming several key states in the final hours of the campaign. Where they were matters, as each candidate fights to get to that magic number of 270 electoral votes. So let's bring in CNN political analyst David Gregory. He's at our magic wall to break down all of the numbers. David, tell us what last night says about what they're investing in.
We are going to build a wall. It's a beautiful wall. Ours has the electoral map on it. And it really is a story, Allison, of defense and opportunity. So where it was Hillary Clinton last night, she finishes off the night in Pennsylvania. She also goes to North Carolina. Pennsylvania is really about turning out the minority vote, also the college-educated vote in the collar counties of Philadelphia that can bring that home. If she can hold on to that, it really shuts down a lot of the path for Donald Trump. At that point, she could just be a Nevada or a New Hampshire away from going over the top, over 270. She becomes the next president. If she loses in Pennsylvania, maybe that's a sign that things are happening in the Midwest among working-class white votes that are helping Donald Trump. Could be a sign of a bad night for her, something that she wants to watch out for. In North Carolina, she's spending so much time there. You have the highest percentage increase in the Latino vote in North Carolina, a great target of opportunity for her, a state that Romney won back in 2012. For Donald Trump, he goes to Michigan, and he goes to Michigan as perhaps insurance if he were to lose North Carolina. He's really got to sweep a lot of these battleground states from a Nevada. He's got to hold Arizona. He has to win Florida and in North Carolina and Ohio. If he loses in a state, Michigan could be an opportunity for him at some insurance. And again, largely white state, maybe a little bit more in keeping with his voters.
Okay, David, stay there at the wall. We want you to keep playing with it for us. We want to bring back our panel, Ron Brownstein, Jackie Kucinich, and Abby Phillips. Okay, so Ron, what path are you most interested in watching?
I mean, look, when I first started covering politics in the 80s, we were talking about the Republican lock on the Electoral College because there were so many states that were so reliably Republican that essentially Republicans say Democrats can't win without winning Ohio, and we always win Ohio. Now there's a different reality. There are 18 states that Democrats have won in at least the past 6 consecutive elections. The blue wall, 242 Electoral College votes.
Well,
I don't know if you can show us all of the blue wall. It's the 11 states from Maryland to Maine except for New Hampshire. It's Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin in the upper Midwest. It's the 3 West Coast states and Hawaii. If you just add to that, real quick, if you just add to that Virginia and Colorado, just maybe highlight Virginia and Colorado, and New Mexico.
Yep.
At that point,
highlighted blue.
At that point, you're at 269, and any one other state puts you over the top. So if she holds the blue wall, adds to it Virginia, Colorado, and New Mexico, diverse states with the biggest Hispanic populations, then if she wins either Nevada or New Hampshire, it's done. Even if he wins Florida, Ohio, and what that really means, just real quick, he has to dislodge a brick from the wall.
So if he dislodges, I mean, this is the key here. Michigan, at the very last minute, became so competitive. And it really does kind of scramble the path for Hillary Clinton, meaning that it forces her to really rely very heavily on places like North Carolina and Florida to shut Trump down, because Michigan is the wall.
All right, do you want to see David do that? You want to see David? So give her Michigan. Get over there.
Give him Michigan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Give him Michigan.
But this is where a turnout, and this is where with the campaign, the groundwork that the Hillary Clinton campaign has done kicks in, because their turnout operation.
They're doing their operation. I get it, and you know you've been right on your reporting about it. It does, unless you have a wave of enthusiasm that overwhelms organizations. So if he wins Michigan and he wins
Florida, give him
Ohio and Florida,
and North Carolina, you win.
No, he's 260. Well, you got to give him Arizona.
Then you're
Now, that's not impossible.
But the thing is, I mean, as I said before, I mean, the biggest problem for pollsters is predicting the composition of the electorate. And there are 2 different ways it could go, though. One way is that the electorate is more white working class, more non-urban whites, that what Trump is doing is, in fact, bringing out this kind of army of voters that people aren't expecting. The other thing, though, Chris, it's equally possible that the electorate will be more diverse than the pollsters are saying, because, the electorate has been 2 points more non-white every 4 years, pretty much for the last 20 years since 1992, and most of the late polls are essentially having it even or only up 1. So if it is more diverse than people expect, it could tilt further that way. The good news is we won't have to speculate too much longer.
Right. Can I add an historical note here that I think is interesting? In the 60s, when LBJ was president and they passed civil rights legislation in 1964, he famously said, "We've lost the South for a generation." Republicans are in a similar position with the Latino vote. I remember interviewing Lindsey Graham back in 2012. He said, "We are in a demographic death spiral. If we do not pass comprehensive immigration reform, we are not going to become president again." President George W. Bush does not expect to see another Republican president in his lifetime, he has told people. So this is a moment when you have a surge in Latino voters where Republicans are on the verge of losing them.
You know who else said that about immigration? Donald Trump.
Yeah, yes.
In 2012, after Mitt Romney lost.
And the statistic we used in the last hour, just worth pointing out, in the last polls, Donald Trump is up 32 points in the NBC Wall Street Journal among white voters without a college education. That gets him to 40% of the total vote. It's exactly the same margin that Ronald Reagan had among white voters without a college education in 1984. It got him to 59% of the vote. It is a very different country. Can he squeeze out one more victory with that coalition? Sure. Through the Midwest, topple Michigan and Ohio. In the long run, is that where you would place your chips in a diversifying society? I'm not sure.
But Abby, since everybody agreed after 2012 that the key to winning was the Hispanic vote and that Republicans weren't doing it right. That was what was in the autopsy. That's what Donald Trump himself said in various media outlets. And he said what you really need to do is treat them with kindness and make them feel included and like productive members of the society. Why didn't he do that this time around?
How things change. I mean, it could very well be because Donald Trump realized at some point that his most likely path would be going through this sort of white working class vote, and he really doubled down on that, and it required him to really throw that other ideology out the window. The problem is, as Ron has said ad nauseum, there are not enough people. There are not enough voters to make that a truly viable option for Republicans. The only thing that they can potentially count on is if potentially some voters say, you know what, the divisiveness is something I don't agree with, but maybe I want a Republican Supreme Court. Maybe we don't want to hand Democrats a White House yet again. That's a possibility, but I think
there's also an opportunity cost, and Ron and I talked about, which is the opportunity cost of Trump doing what he knew. Look, in 2004, it became clear that conservatives in the Republican Party were not supportive of comprehensive immigration reform. That's what sabotaged the late effort by George W. Bush in his presidency. And Trump in 2012 could say that, but that was difficult to achieve in the Republican Party. But the opportunity cost of Trump with a strong populist demagogic message in 2016 is that he alienates a lot of these college-educated voters who are normally Republicans who were looking forward to break for Hillary Clinton.
And this isn't going away inside the Republican Party, by the way. With this election, this fracture is going to continue.
Especially even if he doesn't win, if he does better than Mitt Romney in the Electoral College, he'll have a strong case to say my path is a better path, and that is going to be a big divide in the Republican Party.
All right, it'll be very interesting to have you all back tomorrow with these thoughts. Stay with CNN all day and night. We'll have every race covered. You can join us on New Day tomorrow. We start at 3 a.m. Eastern for complete results coverage.
All right, no matter whether or not you're angry and going to the polls or you believe in a better America and you're going to the polls, you better go to the polls. We're showing you Ashburn, Virginia right now with that signature white basketball court. All those people lined up behind those screens. Who knows what their race, what their gender. All have American flags. All are exercising the franchise. There are 100 ballot measures, actually more of them, for voters to decide on in all of these different states, including recreational marijuana. There's assisted suicide, really big issues, and many of them citizens put on the ballots of states like yours. We'll take you through them when we come back.
Inside Africa Fact File, in association with Zenith Bank.
Fortified maize meal is rich in minerals and vitamins. It also contains sodium and elements such as manganese. Porridge made from maize meal is sweet and delicious.
Nimemwaribu afunge curtain ndio hizo asiingie. Wacha nitakupikia nikitoka meeting.
Jamii Milk, nutrition for champion. Statistics show that only 2 million Kenyans out of a total workforce of 14 million save through pension schemes. Ensure you plan and save during your working years. Join a registered retirement scheme and safeguard your future. For queries regarding your pension scheme or saving for retirement, call toll-free 0800-720-300. Retirement Benefits Authority, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
For dry, flaky skin, use a liquid moisturizer to lay down the skin before the makeup. Give it a few minutes to set before applying your foundation.
Turn up the magic, shine like no other. See Silver Bay. Radiant, feel yourself. Ooh, hey.
Switch to all new fresh milk range from Daima. It is thicker, creamier and tastier. Daima, fuel for an active life.
To save space when packing, store rolled up socks in your shoes. This also helps preserve the shape of the shoes in your suitcase.
This September and December, Rwandair redefines your travel experience with grand new A330s and spread wings to Mumbai. Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Bana bange kumbakira musaraki
kumbakira musangura
icyandangu cyariga icyamugize cyariga unakoronde hayi
mukirangiro cyeto
Vuka FM 95.4
moyo gumura gurigoi omuregereza omusimi wa Sulu FM nga England ya kubona mbonyola bipindi namwe kimiseki FM ngira chingwa alafu kwaberina kukaluha cha Sulu FM enono bise bino kunyoleka ku 89.6 FM Sulu FM
Indaya mlembe ningali rejelesi amachinini kashire pa amahana amechesiyonera batangazaji bomuliro Western Nene Nyanza kuliko 99.0 FM Nairobi Nene Central kuliko 97.9 FM Eldoret kuliko 95.8 FM
Kwabanuya Western Kenya tuko ngangari.
How long have you been here? We do not accept cash.
It's better for you to disappear from Gail's life, or everything's going to get much worse for your son.
Cholesterol-free fresh fry from Pwani. Because life is full of flavor.
Forcing civilians to become human shields. Now they're stealing children.
New Day is being shown all over the world, but for you in the United States, hopefully this is part of your reality. Forget about the inconvenience. Forget about the weather. This is about voting. This is about your chance to act on what you've been talking about for over a year. These are live pictures of people getting ready to go. You have these must-win battleground states. This is North Carolina that we're looking at, Raleigh specifically. It could be a nail-biter, 15 electoral votes at stake. We have CNN's Victor Blackwell live in Raleigh, bringing us this shot this morning. What's it like so far? The polls just getting ready to open down there. What's it been like so far, my friend?
Well, the line started just after 5:30 this morning, Chris, and the line has more than 100 people in it. People have been driving up all morning. Let me tell you why we're here. This is Precinct 1310 on the north side of Raleigh, one of the larger precincts here in this area in Wake County. Wake County being the battleground in this battleground state. In the last 6 elections, Democrats have won this county 3 times. Republicans have won this county 3 times. Take a look at the line. This is a precinct that went for Romney in 2012, McCain in 2008, and the candidates and the campaigns know how important this precinct and this county is. How do we know? They were here within the last 18 hours of their campaign. 15 electoral votes on the line for North Carolina. The big story out of North Carolina, early voting. Setting a record this year. More than 3.1 million early and absentee votes counted this year so far. We know that there are some demographic questions about who's showing up. The Hispanic vote vote here, more than 79% increase over 2012, but still a small percentage of the electorate. White voters up 22%, black voters down 5% in early vote. We'll see who shows up today. Allison?
We sure will, Victor. Thanks so much for that. Voters are also packing precincts in the battleground state of Ohio. The Buckeye State offers 18 electoral votes, and Ohioans want you to know they have picked the winner in every presidential election since 1964. That's where we find CNN's Martin Savage. He's live in Parma, Ohio with more. Hi, Martin. What are you saying?
Hey, Allison. Well, one of the reasons we're here in Parma is this is one of those areas in a Democratic stronghold of Cuyahoga County that could see a crossover vote going in favor of Donald Trump. It's a working class kind of neighborhood. We saw people lined up outside. The voting is underway. Started at 6:30. About 75 people immediately walked into this elementary school. Early voting has been underway in the state of Ohio for the last 29 days. It only ended yesterday afternoon. And the indications there are as follows. There were about almost 1.8 million votes that were cast in early voting. That's nearly a quarter of the registered voters in this state. It's up slightly from 2012, but not up a lot. In fact, the Secretary of State said he was rather surprised, given the fact that early voting's popular and now more accepted. In Cuyahoga County, early voting down across the board. About 15%. That does not bode well for Hillary Clinton because, of course, Cuyahoga County is her strongest point in the state. If you didn't get a lot of votes coming out of Cuyahoga County, it could mean she may not do well in this state. We'll have to see. Polls close at 7:30. Chris?
All right, Martin, that is the right analysis, but as you well know, the X factor is always turnout. How many will come out and where? That's what we'll be following all day long. Now, voting is not just important because you're going to get to pick a president, although that should be more than enough. You have senator, you have legislatures going all the way down. You also have ballot measures, 162 of them across the country, and they range from everything from background checks on guns to recreational marijuana use. Minimum wage is a very big deal in different ways across the country, and many of these initiatives were brought by you, not legislators. So, will the people have a referenda? Will they come out and take their own action? Let's discuss some of these issues with CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin and CNN chief business correspondent Christine Romans. Jeffrey, first one for the legal mind. The advancement of the proposition of legalized marijuana in Colorado, legalized assisted suicide. How do you see these two playing out?
Well, this is, Colorado was one of the two states, Washington State being the other, that legalized marijuana for recreational use. These have proven popular in these states. I mean, assisted suicide has passed in other states. Marijuana has passed. We're going to see how well it does around the country today. But, I mean, the polls are showing that it has a very good chance of passing today in Colorado.
All right, let's hop really quickly to minimum wage. Very big deal, Christine, on different levels. Take us through some of the contrast between the politics and the reality when it comes to minimum wage.
So you're going to see this in 4 states, and it looks like they're going to pass. I mean, every minimum wage ballot initiative since 2000 has passed. So the people, even in red states, 2 years ago in the midterms, you saw several states that are red states pass higher minimum wage. And that's traditionally been something that Republicans have said, don't tell us what to do. That's only going to raise costs for us, and we're going to have to cut jobs. The reality is people across the country have consistently voted for raising the minimum wage. There's this fight for 15 you've heard from the progressives. They'd like to see $15 an hour. That's not on any of these ballots. It's more like $12 an hour or $13.50 an hour, and easing it in slowly so businesses can adjust. But one of the reasons why it's becoming more popular, I think, is because there's this realization that the minimum wage today, when you adjust it for inflation, it's not, you don't make as much as you did a generation ago. So people feel like they're not making as much. And the taxpayer is subsidizing the company who is paying those wages by food stamps. I mean, there's some studies that show that more than half of the people who are getting the minimum wage, if it's just a one minimum wage job, they're getting other, government subsidies for their life, taxpayer subsidies. So it's the company that should have to bear the cost of that.
That's an interesting point that many voters won't think about. They'll think about what's right and wrong versus their own interests. Who's going to pay for this difference between the wage and what you need to live, the company or you? Jeffrey, gun laws, those are a big deal. The federal government gets a lot of heat, but most of it needs to be done at the state level. What do you see with advancements of checks across the country in these ballot measures? And is anybody trying to make it easier to get a gun?
Well, you know, after the Newtown massacre, President Obama threw all his effort into tightening gun laws in the United States, most specifically trying to establish background checks. He failed in the Senate, didn't even get a vote in the House of Representatives. These are state-by-state efforts almost exclusively to tighten background checks. The problem with background checks laws at the state levels is how portable guns are. You know, most of the crimes in New York State are committed with guns that are purchased originally in other states. Several states are trying to pass gun control laws, but gun control laws are not politically all that popular. It's why it didn't pass in the House of Representatives. So I think it is a very unclear scenario about how many gun control laws will pass around the country today.
Also, a quick point, Jeffrey, you know, people are going to see, there's going to be controversy about people showing up to the polling station with open carry permits, you know, with weapons that are visible. And some will say that's scary, but for others it's a political statement as well. The basic law is, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have open carry, then you can carry it unless there's a specific law, which many people haven't made, to protect polling places differently. True?
That's right. And open carry laws have become much more popular since our last presidential election. So we will undoubtedly see, as you see in open carry states, people going into the polling places with guns. Just on criminal justice, let me just give you one more sort of very weird fact about today. In California, there are 2 ballot initiatives about the death penalty. One ballot initiative says ban it altogether. Another ballot initiative says make it easier to impose the death penalty. So voters could go dramatically in one direction or the other, or go in contradictory directions. That's just one of the weird things about having these ballot initiatives. There's 17 of them on the ballot in California.
And a lot of them are citizen-generated, and you know what? It reflects this real divergence in the country right now. What kind of country do you want to be? A lot of people believe that we've lost things that we should restore that made us America. Other people are saying, no, we have to move forward and embrace who we are now. What's going to happen? We'll see today. Let's end on California.
You might even say, Chris, that some people want to make America great again.
Yes, yes, I have heard that. I've seen it. I've seen it on lawns near my house. So, Christine, let's end in California. Okay. Proposition 67. Yep. This is an unusual one. It's the first of its kind. It's about plastic bags.
So a couple of years ago, the state banned plastic bags, and you have to pay 10 cents to get a paper bag at a store. So, for example, if you're in San Francisco, you cannot go walk into a Walgreens and get a plastic bag anymore. This puts Prop 67 to the people. The people can decide. Now, there's an industry push from the Plastic Bag Association, saying, look, people should have the right to be able to have a plastic bag. But the environmentalists say, no, the bays are full of these plastic bags. We don't want them. The state has already voted. The state has decided not to have them. This puts the measure to the people, getting rid of the plastic bags.
Unlike a lot of laws, it goes to the formation of culture. I noticed the other day that when someone offered me a bag, I said, no, this is not something that's on my mind. And yet you see the culture changing. People are walking around with their own shopping bags, so you don't have the plastic ones. People say they can care about the environment. That's been a big deal in California. Let's see how it does on the referendum.
And California has led on things like this. And there are other cities and states around the country who have looked at that plastic bag ban, or at least charging a lot of money for a plastic bag to try to, to try to diminish the use of them.
Christine Romans, Jeffrey Toobin, thank you for making us smarter on this election day. Now we all have to get out and vote and see what becomes a reality in this country. Allison.
Well, the Department of Justice is deploying hundreds of election monitors across 28 states to make sure that your vote will count today. So what you should know as you head out to the polls, we bring in our experts to discuss. But first, let's take a look at your voting Instagrams.
What do we have? What kind of pictures do we have? Let's
check it out.
Nice. Medical field, respect it. Very nice. Covered up his sticker, but we know it's there.
When you know what you really want, then nothing can stop you. And at the end, the pleasure is all yours. Londonderry.
Hi, I'm Jen.
Hi, I'm Adam.
Hi, I'm Miguel, and we're here in Macedonia.
There's been so much